Hey guys, and welcome to our very first episode of our very new family-friendly horror podcast called Screen Time. So before you cut your kids' screen time, let's give them something good to watch.
As always, your hosts are Dean,
Ashley,
Sophia,
and Jesse.
Okay, guys, let's get into today's episode.
We will be reviewing 1990s PG-13 horror comedy anthology called The Willies.
This story is guaranteed to give you the willies.
Okay guys, so it starts off with 3 kids in the tent, and their names are Josh, Kyle, and Michael. So I was about to say Sean Astin again.
Michael is played by Sean Astin.
Yeah, and that's the only one I know.
And it's a great movie. And it's like a weird movie that Sean Astin was in that nobody really knows about or talks about unless you're a horror fan.
Sean Astin is great.
So they are getting ready for a sleepover, and they're going to tell scary stories.
Yeah.
And those are the stories that we see in the anthology. And the names of the stories are...
The names of the stories are Camping Out, Tennessee Fricassee, Haunted Estate, Poodle Souffle, Bad Apples, and Flyboy.
Ooh, Flyboy.
Some of them are really gross.
The Poodle Souffle one is such a sad one.
The Tennessee Fricassee is...
It's so gross.
Yeah, like, bro, how
Okay.
did you not see the tail?
Let's just the tail.
You're giving
Yeah,
away too much
you're
information.
getting-
So, a cool thing that I always liked as a kid was when I rented a VHS movie, and this is a movie that I used to rent all the time as a kid, they would have really funny taglines on the cover. What is the tagline of this movie, Dean?
Oh
Do you remember?
my gosh, wait, I want to
Yep.
read it. It's not the right one.
This
No,
isn't the
they-
right one?
Yeah.
They have the same.
So we got
ones.
both VHSs in front of us.
Okay, you'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll puke, you'll die.
You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll puke, you'll die. That's really funny.
There's also
Yeah.
one there. I don't know if this is a tagline, but it's kind of like it's a
Wait.
different thing.
Wait,
That if you've never had them before, you're gonna get them now, and then it has the Willie on
The
it.
Willies.
and then there's
I,
another one.
I enjoyed when Sean Astin, I don't know what his character's name is, I don't remember. Who was he? Michael?
Michael.
When his character said, "You'll have the urge to regurge."
It's really funny.
Or like what's grosser than gross?
Yeah.
So, I would say that the first 3 stories are like short stories, and the last 2 are probably about like a half hour each,
Yeah.
and that makes up a movie of an hour and a half. So when they get through the first 3 stories, we see the title screen,
Yeah, the opening credits, it's so confusing.
and it says The Willies, and it's like a half hour
you
into
feel like
the
you've
movie.
already watched half of
Literally,
the movie.
it's so strange.
Okay, so the first story is called Tennessee Fricassee.
Which
And that means it's like a chicken, like
yeah,
Kentucky
when we were
Fried
watching,
Chicken.
when we were watching the movie, we didn't know that what they were called, so we all put it down as Chicken Lady. So
And this one is told by Sean Astin. This story. Okay, so like, we're the opening
yeah.
scene of this story is inside like a Kentucky Fried Chicken place. So let's tell the story. What is the story about?
okay, do you want me to say it?
Anybody? Yeah, if you want to
Okay.
start on this one, go for
Oh
it.
my gosh.
So-
in the credits, in the end credits.
Okay, wait. Okay, so
Go
the
ahead.
Chicken Lady story is about a really I don't want to say this, but
Well,
she's like they're making her
Spoilers ahead.
they're
Spoilers.
making her seem like so fat almost, and she's like
and so I've
And
never
like,
seen
so,
a lady
like
this hungry before.
she's like
ravenous.
I was like so confused because why is she overly excited?
I might have been that hungry once.
like she was like drooling over like a bucket of fried chicken, and
It's really not that good.
So the story is, once the
Yeah.
story opens up, it's a lady walking into
a
chicken restaurant.
chicken restaurant. I'm gonna go say KFC because
She goes to the counter, right?
and she goes to order her bucket of chicken.
She orders a big bucket of
big
chicken,
bucket of
like
chicken,
something
and
that would
then-
be way too big for one person.
Yeah.
to eat.
Family size
Yeah.
bucket of chicken.
It's like it's big. And then she goes to sit. She's really excited. She sits down at her booth and she starts getting a piece of chicken, and she bites into it, and then all you see are like,
And she like
what are they,
realizes
like,
something's
organs
wrong.
almost,
Like, right?
and she's like eating them, and she's like,
Wait,
she's
do we
like-
want to tell them what happens?
Yes.
Okay.
well, and this is spoilers.
It's a review.
Spoilers
We're reviewing,
ahead,
so
guys.
we got to.
So she like bites it, and then realizes something wrong, and then she looks down, and I don't understand why and how she doesn't look at her food, but it was a rat that was fried.
Deep fried
fried rat.
Deep fried rat.
Oh my god!
It's like the tail
like that.
sticking out, right?
Make sure it doesn't.
It's good.
You sure?
No, it's good. Everything's
It's
going
like
good.
might turn off though.
So it was a deep fried rat. And like I said, this story is a short, it's like a couple minutes, right? So, and then they right after that, they come back to the kids in the tent, and they're like, oh, they're all grossed out, you know? And they're like, that never happened. And he's like, yeah, I know it happened. I'm telling you the truth. It happened at a restaurant. And then they move on to the next story, and it's the bigger brother. I guess the three kids are cousins. So the older brother of the two little brother, there's like a little brother and a big brother.
Wait.
It's his turn to tell a story.
No. Sean Astin told that one, but we forgot the camping out story about the guy with the pie. Isn't that the one? Or what am I thinking of?
I think you're thinking of Stand By Me.
No.
Wrong movie.
Yeah.
No, the camping out is considered a story. Like
What
at
is
the very
camping out one? Didn't
So
they,
at the
they were
very-
talking about like puking.
Yeah, no. So at the very end credits, they have all of the cast for every individual story. The camping out is kind of like considered a prologue. They almost call it. Like we've seen Creepshow, and like, you know, how they show the father and the kid with the magazine. That's not really a story, but it is like a little bit of a segment. So it's called like
is
a
it
prologue.
just the kids in the tent?
I
Like they're
think.
like talking and
Right. So that's the
gassing
story.
and,
Yeah. So they're
getting
credited
ready.
in there. So the first story, it's funny. We jump into the second story, and it's called The Haunted Estate. And the Haunted Estate is a haunted ride before it was shut down for being too scary. And you have an old man who accidentally gets on this haunted ride.
They never explain how he accidentally gets on.
I think he was there, and he thought it was supposed to be another ride, and he ends up getting into it, and it's like a really cool haunted house ride, like where it
It's
has
not
the single,
scary.
it has like the old school single chair that
Yeah,
you
but it's
sat
not
in.
even scary.
You couldn't even ride with somebody in the ride. Like it was like a single chair, and it kind of like
That's
turns you
scary, that's
around.
scary.
That's cool. Do you
Yeah.
want to tell about that one, dude?
It's really not that scary. How did he die?
It wasn't really
Does
that.
anybody remember what the old guy was
old?
from?
Oh, I do. I have it written down. He wasn't he Home Alone. He was in Home Alone 2.
he
and
was the old
played
guy from the airport scene
from
in
the
Home Alone.
airport where.
I don't think it's Home Alone 2. It's Home Alone.
It's Home Alone.
1.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, because they were doing.
She's trying to sell the lady
He's
the
the
earrings.
husband of the
What'd
lady
she
that
say?
wants to buy all of her jewelry.
Yeah.
He
They're
says something like, they
dangling.
don't. Yeah, she's like,
You have how many
real
dangling?
pretty dangly ones. She has
So,
plenty of jewelry at home. He says
so the old guy gets on the ride, and
it's like a
he's
seat ride. He like rides.
he's
through a
taken
haunted
through the
house, like-
ride, and you can tell right off the bat that this old guy is completely scared out of his mind.
which is really funny because
Um,
it is really like the
Yeah.
decorations are pretty sad.
Like the zombies that are in there and the monsters are not that realistic looking, which I'm gonna just give them credit for that time.
I almost feel like this is
Wait,
the
so-
shortest story that they play. Is it?
Yeah, I think all three of these ones before the first credits roll are all about the same, like few minutes, like
Right.
5 to 10 minutes or something. I think they make up like a half hour, because that would make up the hour and
Wait.
a half runtime.
Wait, so
So they get to a thing called the family ghoulery in there, and it has all these different people kind of like up on these like little windows, and the one guy jumps down and like axes towards the old guy, and I think that's what kind of like
I think he has
the
like a heart
straw that
attack.
like
Yeah,
gets him.
he's so distraught.
He's frightened.
So yeah,
He is. He's almost like petrified, right?
Which
Wait,
I honestly.
What's
have
the
no idea
farmer
why.
with the axe? His name was Farmer Hackett, and he comes down with the axe
I didn't
on
know
his
that.
chair.
That's funny.
So they cut from that, and it's people getting off of the ride. So there's a girl saying like, "Thank you, have a nice
Yeah,
day."
I think she keeps
As
on
his
saying
chair
it's like
comes up,
it's like a catchphrase almost.
Yeah,
or not
thank
a
you.
catchphrase, like
have a nice day.
their slogan or whatever.
So as his chair comes up to the girl to get off the ride, the chair turns to her.
Dun
And-
dun dun.
He's dead. He's had a
Oh,
heart attack
yeah.
because the ride was too
Spoiler.
scary, right?
Yeah, they like Wait, do they do that classic like they poke him and he like
No,
falls over? Or is
no.
I
he
think
dead
she
in his
just, like,
chair?
She's
looks
like
at
she's
him.
like this, and then she looks at him and she's like, ah! And I'm like, girl, come on.
I mean, what would you do in that?
I'd scream, but I'd also run away because I get spooked.
I would
Yeah.
get the
You wouldn't be in a
Willies.
haunted house to begin with.
No, I know, no, not at all. Maybe work there.
Wait,
'cause
so
it's cool.
so if in the chicken
Okay.
one.
Okay, so I must say the next story is my least favorite story.
Oh, yeah,
and
that-
it's so sad. And
And I wanted to.
I
want to
confirm. I think there were no pets actually injured during
No,
this
they
movie.
even said at the end. I want to talk
Pretty
about
sure.
this one because this one.
Go ahead, Ash. It's called.
Oh, you can do it because I don't want to say it.
With the
Wait.
poodle souffle.
Oh yeah.
So the next story, that's what it's called.
So the next story, there's an old lady, right, that is
Took-
like dressing up her dog and
No,
like is taking care of her dog,
no, it
grooming
was,
her
like-
dog. She's like,
She gives him a bath.
she gives
in
him
the
a
sink.
bath. Yeah, she gives him a bath in the sink, and she's like, oh, like my little baby, and this and that, and for whatever possesses this woman, I don't understand
She
the
wanted to
next
dry
steps,
him.
right? Yeah, she puts the dog in the microwave and puts him on high
Why?
heat. I guess.
No, she puts him on like for
But
3
why?
minutes.
To
She
dry
baked
him?
him like
To
a
dry
baked-
him.
Well,
dry
she
him.
baked him like a baked potato, but like, I don't understand what possessed thee to put him in the microwave. Why not just like use a hair
That,
dryer or
I
something?
watched a brain cell watching that, or I like
So-
lost one.
Does anybody remember
So
what
the
the
dog
dog's name is?
explodes.
Oh, it was like
it was like
someone was like not
Poodles?
Snookums or something, but like
Okay, I actually have it
wrote it
written
down,
down.
didn't you?
The dog's name was Pookums.
Pookums, yeah.
Yeah,
so
I was right.
she
then,
baked
half right.
Pookums up like a sad baked potato,
And all I gotta say is that there's a song on TikTok, or it's like a creepy like curse song, and they don't talk about that, but like they're like she put her poodle one time in a microwave oven, and that's just they show
And that's
a
what
scene
made
from
you
that.
kind of.
is that like any
Yeah.
kind of like legend or anything that we're aware of, or is
I
it
don't
just
know.
a weird story?
I think it's
that,
just a
like-
weird like old lady that like didn't really know that what was gonna happen to the
Guys,
dog.
guys,
So it's very fake. It doesn't look real.
It doesn't
No
look
animals
it's
were
just the
harmed.
thought of it like
But
makes me cringe.
She puts it on for like 3 minutes, and as soon as the timer goes off,
like he's fine.
He explodes.
it explodes. The microwave
I
explodes.
mean, it looks like hot
Yeah.
dog or something.
It
It's
literally looks
Yeah.
like
so
hot dog
fake,
and
but-
like noodles.
Yeah, so it is confirmed that no pets were injured during the making
Yeah.
of this film.
And the little brother
It's
out of the
really
3
gross.
kids in the tent tells that story, and it's a perfect story that a little brother would tell.
And
yeah,
You know,
Dean
it's
would really
gross.
tell a story like
and
that.
it's perfect for him because he kept on saying what's grosser than gross, and then he would like.
It's gross.
All right,
you
well
know.
that one was the worst one, so let's just move.
So
on.
after that story, they throw in there, the 3 kids, a Goonies joke because
Sean Astin.
Sean Astin is in the
Really?
in
I didn't catch that.
the movie. He's about to tell another story, but he
I'll tell this
doesn't.
one.
And the oldest brother, which is Sean Astin's cousin in the movie, he says, "Is this the story about the time you and your friends found that old pirate ship?"
Oh.
And he's like,
that-
"No,
that's-
it's not." So it's kind of funny that like the Willies would almost be
Yeah.
in the same world or universe as
Yeah.
the Goonies.
And they're trying to make it out to be like it was a
Right.
made up story too. Like, oh, you're gonna tell us about the
Yeah. So
the
boom,
pirate ship again.
right there after the poodle story is done, we cut right to the opening credits. And like this is a half hour into the movie, and it says the Willies.
And-
It's
Right across
And
the
just
thing.
so you guys,
strange.
and just
There's
so you-
music that plays.
It like keeps you
There's
on your
credits.
toes because you
Yeah.
are like,
Like,
what have
what?
I been doing for the past half an hour?
And just so you guys know, there's literally 2 stories after this, so it's not anything.
I mean, it is legitimately halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
It's the strangest, like,
Wait.
it's just
Anyways.
the strangest place to keep your opening.
I
credits.
want to talk about this one though.
So the one thing in the credits in the chicken lady one.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Real quick. So before we move on, is in the credits they have so in the chicken lady one, which I'm gonna call it the chicken lady one.
Tennessee fricassee.
Anyways,
Fricassee.
they in there they have like almost like a punk like couple, I'm guessing, and they like come in like leather and they're in the back. They don't say anything, but they're in the back of her like walking, and their names in the credits are Tough Dude and Tough Chick.
tough
So-
dude and
It's
tough
apparently
chick.
really funny to Dean.
Yeah,
So dumb.
so funny. Okay.
That's how they would credit you in a movie.
So after the credits
Like,
end,
skinny leg.
Skinny lip dog.
we start into the one of two stories left, right?
I want to talk about
And this story is called Bad Apples.
Yes.
And I think it is the best one so far.
It's my favorite one.
Because it has another actor, which we wrote down his name. He is from Return of the Living Dead.
The janitor.
Yes.
Plays the janitor. Okay, so
I
I am. I'm gonna read my little thing and we'll pause and stop.
Okay.
The story follows a boy named Danny Hollister. He's a 4th grader in Greeley Elementary School, and the beginning scene of the story, he's instantly met by 3 bullies who rip his artwork out of a school showcase.
Really?
Do you remember that? Yeah. At the beginning, he's met
They rip his artwork?
Yeah, so he's walking down the
realize that.
hallway. They show him. He's the first character they show of the story.
Guys, I really
and he's instantly met by 3 bullies, and you can already tell he's going to be picked on.
The bullies need another some good jokes.
They really do.
Yeah,
So they
their jokes are really sad.
They tie a fire hose around him and they like raise him up almost, which I don't even know how a little kid would be able to do this. But they kind of like raise him up
like a little nerd.
and they
so.
stuff like a sock in his mouth.
It's really far-fetched.
You know?
No, it was like a badge.
Anyways.
It was like a badge in his mouth.
Or yeah, it could have been his like award for winning the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. So he's instantly met by 3 bullies. So, a second later, Danny is found by none other than the school janitor, which goes by Mr. Jenkins, the school janitor, and he is played by the guy from Return of the Living Dead.
I have it written down. I have it written down, his name.
And what's his name?
His name is James Karen.
James Karen, who played Frank in Return of the Living Dead, which he was
One thing
one of the best
I
ones
did
ever.
notice about this movie in particular is though even though you have never heard of it before, there are quite a lot of familiar faces in the movie throughout the movie.
Yeah, there is.
Sean,
So you have Sean Astin obviously, and then you have a lot of people from Growing Pains.
A lot of people from Growing Pains.
And
the chicken
Ben
one.
Seaver from Growing Pains. He was
Yeah.
the younger kid. I don't
Yeah.
know what his real name is.
He's in this
I
episode.
have him too.
And then there was
Jeremy Miller.
His name's
Kirk
Brad.
Cameron.
Kirk
is
Cameron's
like
in
a
here.
cameo. Super
They're all
quick.
cameos. Yeah,
Well,
I
it's
don't.
supposed to be on his show too, so it's supposed to be like a
The redheaded lady that always is in cameos. She was in Step by Step. Remember?
Yeah.
Flashback to the 90s.
Yeah. Even the lady in the haunted estate, when she's like, "Thank you, have a nice day." She's that's a cameo. That's that girl with the real high pitched voice.
Yeah.
She's the girl from Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Yeah.
She's the one that helps her with all the
the
books.
person who wrote that or whatever.
And then the bad dude is the dude from
who's bad dude?
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks,
Yeah,
which
right.
isn't something we're going to talk about because it's
Tough dude.
Yeah, and
more
I
of
mean,
a
we don't wanna
family-friendly
get- well, we
podcast.
don't want to get to like. Obviously, the last is Flyboy, and that is Donkey Lips from
Salute Your Shorts,
right? So we'll get to that, but that is one thing that I noticed is even though it's like just an unrecognizable film, there are a lot of like random faces that you would recognize in it.
So after the janitor finds Danny and helps him down, he pretty much tells the janitor who the bullies are. He kind of
Well, he
knows.
he doesn't.
He
tell
knows
him.
who the bullies are.
Yeah,
the janitor does already.
knows.
He's just observing from
So-
afar, right?
He takes him down and then off kind of like off he goes. But off Mr. Jenkins goes after he sends Danny off. But then you kind of see there's like something not right about Mr. Jenkins.
He's very suspicious.
It's
He's
almost
very
like
sus.
he like hits his head like with his hand, like something like almost like he was like scratching his head or something like that.
Really?
Like
I never
you
caught
know,
that.
like he like
You're
hits
really
it.
bad at details.
I'm really sus.
So next scene is Danny sitting in class, and he is now met by another bully, which is actually his obnoxious teacher named
Miss Titmarsh.
She's the worst.
Wait, guys, wait.
teacher.
Can I say what they call her? Real
what
quick?
was the name?
Okay, so when they get
I'm the one that recognized that this is
listen,
what they called her.
Listen,
So her name's
So,
Miss Titmarsh.
Miss Titmarsh, and
The bullies, what do they call her?
The bullies get up in one of the scenes and call her Boob Swamp.
And if you know, you know.
It's so stupid, but so
If you get it,
funny.
you get it.
What do you think
don't,
about
you
that,
suck.
Dean?
It's.
We did laugh.
Dean,
we
we're-
did laugh
The only
collectively.
thing that I'm gonna
Dean,
say.
did you even get
for-
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dean gets it.
No, if the only thing that I'm gonna say about this is just why, and then let's move on.
We were writing down, we were researching, and all he put was why for like most of the stories, just why.
Miss Boobs.
So Miss Boob Swamp
She's
or
the
Tit
worst.
Marsh.
She's a horrible teacher.
Horrible.
And she really
Because she's a bully. She
bullies-
bullies the crap out
she
of the
really-
I don't
kids.
want to say.
bullies
I don't
him.
want to say she deserves what she got, but
Oh
like,
yeah, I mean,
but,
nobody
like-
deserves that, but
So classic teacher thing.
it's like you had it coming.
Classic
you know?
teacher move. Pop quiz. Right? All the kids are like, no, we don't want the pop quiz. So the next scene now is a pop quiz. And so they start
What's his
taking
name,
the
Danny?
quiz.
Danny
is
gets
still
there late.
is still being bullied, right? During the
Yeah.
pop quiz, he's getting spitballs shot
Well,
at
Danny's
him.
late to class because
So-
he's getting bullied.
He was late because he was
Yeah.
tied up.
She doesn't
yeah.
even give him an opportunity.
No,
to
she
explain
did,
No.
and
why he's late.
and this is something I wanted to tell you. She wanted just one person to know. She tells him to pass out papers, and I don't really see why that's a punishment.
It's like calling him out for being late. Like,
Yeah, that's
you're going to
something
walk
I
around.
don't see
It's
why that's a
something
punishment.
that-
It's old school.
It's very old school. It's something that would have happened when me and Daddy were like
Yeah, but, like-
kids. It would be like he had to confront each student at a desk with a paper as a punishment.
Yeah,
and
I
it was
guess that's
almost like
awkward.
it was awkward for him, and it was awkward because the kids that were bullying him were a part of the class. So they were, a couple of the kids that he had to
They
hand
were
out
like
papers to,
throwing.
and they were like teasing him as he walked past and
they were
stuff.
like throwing the paper down.
Yeah,
and
it
she,
was
like,
just she was just being rude.
Yeah.
sucks.
So during the pop quiz, finally, Danny has to go to the bathroom.
He has to go wee wee.
He raises his hand. Miss Titmarsh
Danny gotta go
seizes
tinkle.
him.
He has to
doesn't.
tinkle.
She doesn't care. She doesn't answer him. She doesn't call on him. He finally walks up to the desk. She bullies him once again.
No, she sees him. She just ignores him. She's like continuing to
Yeah.
read her little book, put her little post-its in her little
Yeah.
chapter book.
So she finally lets him go to the bathroom. He walks down the hallway, goes to the bathroom, opens up the door to the boys' bathroom, and he sees that Mr. Jenkins' janitor cart is in the bathroom.
Is in the bathroom,
right?
yeah. Just like, no, he tries to open the door.
The
It's in front
stall
of the door.
is closed.
And he's like, "Oh, sorry." Like,
And he
thinks
says,
someone's
"Oh,
going to the
sorry."
bathroom.
Yeah. So he thinks Mr. Jenkins is going to the bathroom, right? But maybe Mr. Jenkins is doing something else.
Maybe
that
he's-
somebody that wasn't human would be doing or something. Who knows?
Maybe
But
he's
so
maybe he's ripping off his face. Who knows?
Danny finally
Danny.
opens. He
Danny.
moves the thing, and Danny opens up the stall, and he sees Mr. Jenkins as a monster.
Does he know at that
No.
point that it's Mr. Jenkins?
No.
He
He
thinks
has
that
no
Mr.
idea.
Jenkins was eaten.
He
by
thinks
the
Mr.
monster.
Jenkins was eaten by the
So
monster.
this monster looks like a giant ghoulie, right?
I would say something like that,
Like it looks
or
like a big, like if you're.
He
seen
looks
Yeah.
ghoulies,
like
that's
okay.
what it looks
He
like,
looks
a
like
giant
he
ghoulie.
looks like a piece of poop.
Sure, no.
So this
Um,
monster's pretty much just like standing on top of the toilet seat,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. He's having a nice little tinkle.
Now is this when they
Stop
pan
saying
towards the
tinkle.
attic, or do they show
No,
Danny
they
run
don't-
back to class?
No,
So,
no.
yeah,
they show
and
Danny go
Danny
and try
instantly
and
runs
find-
back to class.
And he tingles his
Really,
pants.
or does he go into the
He
janitor's
does.
closet?
So what does he do, Dean? Go
He
ahead.
tingles his pants.
So he never made it to the bathroom.
Wait,
He just
doesn't-
peed his
but
pants.
Doesn't he? What scene is this when he goes in the janitor's
Right.
closet? I think it's that time because he thinks he wants to find Mr. Jenkins. So he goes into the janitor's closet and he sees Mr. Jenkins' head and his
Okay,
like,
yeah, so you're right.
clothes
You're right.
almost.
So he
It's
opened
like
up
body.
he opened up the closet and he sees a mask of Mr. Jenkins' face.
Well, he doesn't know it's a mask. He thinks it's his head.
He thinks it's his real head.
It's a meat suit. It's
Yeah.
not even a mask. It's like I wonder
But
if
he-
do we think that Mr. Jenkins was a person before this alien took
No,
over, or do we
no.
think that he was always Mr. Jenkins as a
I
monster?
think this monster was always Mr. Jenkins, and you kind of find out like what he does. And
Yeah.
I believe what he does
He
is
goes to different schools.
he goes from school to school
So we don't
to
think
school.
that Mr. Jenkins was ever a real person.
No,
that this
no.
monster took
and
over.
and we'll explain kind of why and like what Mr. Jenkins does. But Danny runs back to class and he yells to the class and the teacher what he's seen. And once again, Miss Titmarsh embarrasses the crap out of him.
yeah.
She laughs that he peed his pants, tells him to go back to the bathroom and clean himself up. And Danny, like, I would have just went out into the hallway, but he literally goes back into the bathroom after he's seen the monster. So he goes back in, and this is when he actually finds the costume of Mr. Jenkins. I have it written down that it was this time. He finds it in the boys' bathroom, in the bathroom closet. So this time, Mr. Jenkins, the monster, jumps down, and do you remember what he throws at him, Dean?
No.
To get out of the bathroom? Danny pumps some in his hand, and he throws it at him, and that's what like kind of got him out of the bathroom again.
No, I don't remember.
Soap. He throws soap at the monster's eyes and runs out, right? So he goes back to the class once again. The teacher right now is so mad at him. She decides to go to the bathroom to see what's going on. She goes into the bathroom.
By his ear.
She goes into the bathroom, right?
No. Listen, so his shirt, his mom probably dressed him. His shirt's like nice and little and like a tuck. And then Miss Titmarsh literally yanks she untucks his shirt.
She yanks him by the ear, so she yanks him by the collar.
Yeah,
so hard
and like that his like shirt
up.
gets untucked, and you could tell that was like a tight tuck, and he had like a
he's
belt. He's like it was a tight tuck with a belt, and like she literally like yanked it.
Yeah,
like
she's
the
just
full,
the worst
the full strength.
teacher.
Like this. She put her heart and soul into that untucking.
She put her heart and soul into hating Danny, for sure.
She definitely did.
Such a
So
sad
when
pun.
she gets into the bathroom, she comments that somebody like did a bunch of like
Vandalism
in the
'cause
bathroom.
there's like a toilet exploded.
It's broken. The toilet's
and there's
broken.
like an out of order sign or something,
Yeah.
and she's like, "No, doesn't she
Mr.
say
Jenkins'
like you,
cart, I think, is toppled
but
over.
doesn't she say like you boys really
Yep.
have to have like?"
So she
some,
starts
like-
cleaning the bathroom up like a crazy person.
Yeah.
She starts like cleaning it up. She goes
Like
into
you.
the stall that
Sure.
Mr. Jenkins' monster was standing in, and above that stall
in the
is an
like
attic,
a vent.
like
No,
a
it's
vented
like a
attic
yeah.
space, right?
Yeah, like for like this.
So and then she's like, for some reason she brought her book. She was like, maybe if I take them in and there's nothing there, I might just use the boys'.
So she's in that
bathroom.
stall, right?
Yeah, and she
She's
like
yelling at
doesn't
Danny.
know, and she doesn't think that there's a monster
Above
at
her
But
comes
she, like, turns
lowering
around,
down
too,
the
so, like-
monster, right?
Yeah,
The
and then,
monster lowers himself
all.
down
A hand, and then like
and
yanks
grabs
her.
her. She turns around and she hits the monster on the top of the head with the book that she has,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, like which I think is like the most like weakest ever. Like
The only thing she had at the time.
yeah, but like she
She was
Gives-
disciplining.
listen,
She was going to
but
pull
listen,
some teacher discipline
but
on him.
listen,
Hit him with a book.
She
Surprised she
uses
didn't slap him with a roller.
she uses her heart and strength and soul for Danny, but not when there's a monster about to eat her.
Yeah, so the monster eats her. So that's-
Monster eats her. Well,
So he
then
pulls
Danny
her
runs
up.
back
Yeah,
to class, doesn't he?
Yeah,
And they're
he
like,
runs
"Where's
back-
Miss Boob Sweat?"
boob sweat.
yeah.
or Boob Swamp.
Boob sweat.
With Mr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just say that the two bullies kind of look just like a normal 80s kid, but then the one bully that I guess is like the head bully or
Oh my
whatever.
gosh! Wait, no.
He is so 80s and metal looking. It's
No,
awesome.
but he's not
got
even-
like a
no,
little
Dad,
spiked bracelet.
Dad, he's not even metal looking. Like
Yeah,
he
he is.
just
He's
looks
got
like
the
he's a
mullet.
wannabe. But it, like, okay, listen.
He's wearing
he
like
wants to
a
be- guys,
he's wearing like an
okay,
Iron Maiden
listen,
shirt.
Ready?
Totally metal.
This is what I wrote down. The bully needs a haircut and needs to get some new jokes because just wow. And then
Just wow.
he also needs to get some new clothes because they look like that he's had them for 4 years. He looks like he like that was his first ever shirt when he was a child, and then he just like cuz his pants, his shirt.
Would you stop cutting up on
No,
this child's
his
clothes?
shirt is so tiny and his pants
You're
are
a
so
bully,
small.
Mr. Jenkins.
I'm not a
Watch
bully.
out.
It's
I'm
the
trying
80s.
to defend. I love Mr. Jenkins.
It's the 80s.
He's a vibe.
Okay, so at the end of the story, Mr. Jenkins.
We're not at the end of the story
We're
yet,
not
though.
at-
But we're not at the end of the story. The bullies go into the bathroom,
Why
and
do
they're
they
like,
go into the bathroom?
Because
now?
they wanna-
Are they
because
looking
they-
for Miss Boob Swamps?
Yeah. Well, they're trying to.
on topic. We got to stay on topic about.
I am staying on
The
topic.
scene.
I am.
So Danny goes back to class. He tells them that the monster got Mrs. Titmarch. The bullies are like.
Marsh, Dad.
Are you kidding me? We don't believe you, Danny. Come on. So they go down to the bathroom with
Yeah.
him. They go into the bathroom. Danny stays out in the hallway because, for one, he's already been into the bathroom 3 times with the monster. I don't understand why he would even go back in at this point.
Yeah, he's already been in there like
So
more than enough
they
times.
go
And he
into
still
the
hasn't
bathroom,
peed.
right?
No, he peed in
Peed
his
his
pants.
pants, but still, I mean.
They go into the bathroom. And the one kid from Growing Pains is confronted by the monster.
Mm-hmm.
He grabs him up in the stall, and you can see like
His name's
feathers,
Brad, by the way.
feathers from his little like puffer vest being like thrown up into the air, like the Mr. Jenkins got him.
Yeah.
So Danny pushes the water fountain over in front of the bathroom door outside, blocking the bullies inside. Like Danny has already had it in his head that the monster, he wants the monster to get the bullies.
He like lured them in there.
He kind of like decided last minute that he's going to keep them in there and have the monster get them.
Yeah.
So he locks the bullies inside with the monster. The monster takes matters into his own hands, and he gets them.
And
Pretty
then
much.
and
Bad
then
boy.
the last scene you see
So
is
then you see Mr.
No, listen.
Jenkins
No,
right,
no,
pushing the cart.
Shut. I just want to talk about how Danny walked out there like a savage. He left the school. He walked down those stairs like a savage.
He had like those thug life glasses on.
Yeah, exactly. He was like,
Okay.
I might have just lured.
So
my
then
boys in
so
there.
then we cut to the attic crawl space above the toilet in the boys'
And-
bathroom. Mr. Jenkins is now, the monster is putting the Mr. Jenkins
so he
costume
like
back on.
He puts the mask on, and then he like kind of like puts his
The
fingers
hand on.
and then but like before you see that, it kind of like sees the attic, what it looks like, and it looks like he's almost like been living there.
Okay, so then the final scene is Mr. Jenkins outside pushing his janitor cart.
Uh-huh.
Okay, he's greeted by the principal and a concerned parent that is looking for her son.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is another kid or if it's one of the bullies. I don't think it's one of the bullies. I think it's another kid.
No, I think it's one of the
I thought it was one of the bullies.
I don't
too.
think
Yeah.
it's one of the bullies. No, because he says a different name,
Wait,
which I don't
guys.
remember. So,
Do I suck if I don't remember this?
no.
I don't remember any of this.
So she makes a remark that she's looking for her son, and the principal's like, "Hey, Mr. Jenkins, have you seen, so and so, whatever?" But Mr. Jenkins makes a remark that he, in fact, was a bully. This kid, and he was picking on a bunch of other students, and and on
Mr.
smaller
Jenkins,
kids.
his demeanor seems to change here too. He's like more angry than he was. Like a lot more pleasant at the
aggressive
beginning,
and
of
Right,
the episode.
and they're kind of insinuating that Mr. Jenkins probably took care of this kid as well, and that seems to be the story in this is like Mr. Jenkins is like a monster
But
that
he's
is
nice,
imposed as a
but he doesn't,
janitor
like,
that eats
and he
bullies.
that eats
doesn't-
bullies.
and he doesn't really like
Yes.
eat people that
So he
like
tells them-
doesn't know, like he doesn't know anything
This is
about
the
them. He
very
just
last scene. He tells them he has not seen the kid, right? He goes into his wash bucket that he has on his janitor cart, and the mother explained a shirt that he was wearing.
Yeah, it was like a red flannel.
A red and white shirt, striped shirt or something. He grabs it out of the thing and it's bloody, and he wrings
So
it out
sad.
and he starts washing the window with it.
Did you notice that? Yeah, but there's like blood on the window too. It's like really it's like gruesome.
So what
Gross.
did you think about this
hold
story,
on,
Dean?
real quick before I say
I'm
this.
just gonna say why.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say why.
Just why?
Yeah. Move
How
on.
long do you think
Move on.
Mr. Jenkins has been doing this? Like, do you think he's been like a monster doing this for like years and years and years at all kinds of different schools? Like,
Yeah.
protecting little kids that were getting made fun of and like getting bullies?
He's a vigilante.
He's grosser than gross.
He is grosser than
Like, I wonder if he travels to like multiple different schools and stuff.
Yeah, that's one thing that they don't explain. They don't explain if he has been at that school for a long time, right? Or did they mention at the beginning that he's a new janitor?
I think
I
they
don't
said
remember.
that no, I don't think he says that he's a
So
new janitor.
it's never confirmed that he's moved from school to school. He might just be eating bullies out of this one school.
He could be.
school, man.
School.
If you have
It
a
is
fear,
pretty savage.
if you have like a fear of blood, not saying like the poodle souffle one was like,
Well,
but
it's
if
like
you
that's
have
almost like comedy the
it-
way she puts
yeah,
them in
and
the
it
microwave.
looks like it's almost like comedy how like they're supposed to be the guts. It looks like a hot dog with noodles. But if you have a fear of blood, I
Watch this.
would
movie.
say watch it with a parent, or if you are a parent, because when they lift up Miss Titmarsh,
There's
There's
a little
a-
bit of blood that
there's,
comes
like,
down.
not a little bit. There's like
There's,
an
like, a good
entire
bit.
like at like an entire
Swamp.
body of.
Yeah, this
A
one's
swamp.
lot-
It's a swamp of
it's a
blood.
lot more. It's a lot more
Yeah.
than the other.
It is, but
three
it is
stories.
rated PG-13
But it's a marsh of blood.
for an 80s like kind of horror movie, you know. So
Well, the
it's
thing you
not,
have to keep in mind too is that things were a little bit more acceptable back in the day,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So like, there's a few like there's
Yeah,
some cuss
there-
words and there's
like
and
names
there's
that they would call other people.
Yeah.
bloody. Yeah,
It's
there's
like,
the
um,
bullies say some like rude things. Like there's words that you wouldn't use nowadays that you have to take into consideration
No.
when you're watching movies from that time. But so the last one is
So moving on real quick before we get into the last story, we cut right from that story right back to the tent with the kids, right?
Mhm.
And in the tent you see Sean Astin telling
Michael.
them that his dad had told him that story because he worked at a school.
Yeah.
So Sean Astin's dad is the one that told him that story.
Mhm.
And then right before we get into the last story,
Who tells this story?
the kid, I don't remember, the kids make a joke about capturing bugs in a jar. Remember the kid, little brother's got
Yeah.
like fireflies in a jar?
No,
and he's
the
like, you should
light-
let them
the
go or
lights
you'll
go
end up
out.
like Gordy Belcher.
Yeah, the lights go out.
Yeah.
And then they're like, where are your fireflies?
Yeah,
It's like, you should let them go.
yeah.
Gordy Belcher.
So he's like, you should let those fireflies go because you're going to end up like Gordy Belcher. And the little brother's like, who?
And then
And then
they
boom, right
jump
into the
right
story.
into the
Now,
other
what
one.
happens in this story?
What is the
Talk
name of
about
this last
Gordy
story?
Belcher.
Dean, what's the name of this last story?
Flyboy.
Fly Boy.
And how when it opens, what is just the opening scene? Where? Do you remember?
No.
Aren't we just in like a town, like where he's like walking through?
So it's
the
another.
town,
So it's
he's,
another kind of like farming town, like kind of. It's like a little
Yeah, he, like,
town.
goes to, like, a farm.
Um,
It's like a little town
Get
with
things.
like
so
it
you,
almost feels like it's in like Virginia almost. Like it's like when we're going through.
yeah. So it's played by his name, I believe, in real life is Michael Bauer.
I just
I
enjoy
could be
calling him
wrong,
Donkey
but it's
Lips.
Donkey Lips to me because that's how I knew him on Nickelodeon as a kid, or Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the opening scene for this story is the boy, his name's Gordy, and he's on his way home from school.
Mhm.
On his way home from school, he trespasses on a farmer's property to steal some planting soil or like manure.
Does he go to the farmer's property before he goes through the
I
town
think it's
and
on
like
his
goes,
way home.
steals the
Yes.
nail polish like
Mhm.
alcohol?
It's on his way home from school, and he walks home.
And you can tell that this kid is already a jerk because
He's such a jerk.
he's like he lures that cat
Oh,
and
yeah.
then like scares the cat so
Into
it
the
runs out
street,
into
yeah.
traffic and it almost gets hit
Yeah.
by a car, and then there's like an old lady that
No,
almost
no,
gets
okay,
hit by the
okay,
truck
listen,
too.
Yeah.
no,
Like he
listen,
just
listen.
he wreaks havoc on the town.
Okay, this is
pretty
what
much.
happens when in the town. So he goes, I think after the farm thing, he goes through town and he's like goes to like this drugstore almost, and he steals a bottle of this like it's a pharmacy,
Yeah.
and he goes to like that's the same thing, but he goes to like he steals a like nail polish remover to use, and he gets out of there, and then he sees a cat and he scares the cat, and then he makes the cat run into the street, and then there's like a
It's like a pest control
yeah,
guy.
truck.
Yeah, a
And
truck coming down.
it like has a big fly on it, which is ironic, but it has like a big fly on it, and it like when they hit the brakes, it like the fly flies off of it, and then there's like an old lady with her groceries who like jumps and like who's like literally uses her purse to hit this fly, but it's like the most unrealistic fly you've ever seen, but it's like a giant one. So
And then
it's,
what
like,
does Gordy do?
He laughs.
He laughs.
Yeah.
He
just
laughs really
so,
hard
like,
and obnoxiously.
so obnoxious.
If
yeah.
he was in the story before this, Mr. Jenkins probably would have got him
I know,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
for being a bully.
There's
you know?
also I noticed that there's also like cheerleaders or like high school girls
Yeah.
who are also laughing.
Yeah.
And I think that's made him laugh
So-
more.
As he breaks into the farmer's property, he steals some of this planting manure soil that this guy has, and he
Mhm.
puts it into a jar.
And the farmer confronts him.
Instantly, he's confronted by the farmer with a shotgun.
Yeah.
And the farmer sees he's got some soil and is very displeased because, like, he sees that he was able
he's
to
not
escape with
asking.
some of it,
He's not
right?
asking.
Yeah.
So he's stealing it.
So, like, the soil that this farmer has made is like a special kind of formula that he's created himself, and it's supposed to grow vegetables like really big.
Well, they don't get that. They don't get to that part yet.
No, this is right now.
is?
They're
On the
big.
nudes?
They're big, but they're not like.
But is it
they're
on the
not like
nudes
a
yet?
car
No,
size
yeah.
yet. Not yet.
But, like, that's, yeah.
But they're big.
So Gordy Belcher goes home.
Yep.
Right. And he is confronted by his mom in the kitchen. She's, she just says her hellos and whatever.
Mhm.
And he says that he's going to go down in his basement for a little while.
She's
Right.
like, dinner's ready.
She's
and
like,
he's
don't spend too much time
and he's
down
like
there.
real
Whatever.
rude. And he's like, whatever. Like,
yeah.
real.
So Gordy
It's like
goes,
one of them cool basements too. It's like a trap door in like the floor.
Yeah, so he has to like physically like jump down it and then walk down the stairs.
Gordy goes downstairs and he sits down at his like workstation.
It's got a little workstation.
He's like all set up or whatever, and then they
Well,
they show that he's been making dioramas with
doesn't he go to
dead
up,
flies.
No,
right?
but doesn't he go up to his room first?
No,
and
he goes down
grabs,
to the
like, a
basement
jar of
first,
flies?
right? Because he has them already. He
Oh
has the,
yeah,
he has
and
the
he like
soil.
puts the
He puts the flies in a jar. He puts like a lollipop or something in there, right? He pulls the wings off the flies, which I think is so sad. Like
Yeah.
the
They're
one is still alive.
They're
Yeah.
still
Called a walk
alive.
now.
They're all still
Yeah.
alive. They like
But the
Like-
dioramas really had me laughing. He has like flies sitting at like a diner.
So he's got a
He has
diner
a-
scene.
he has
He has
he
like
has
a
a-
wedding or a
he has
funeral or something,
Yeah,
right?
he has
A
oh my gosh, wait,
funeral.
the funeral one. He has like a dead fly sitting in like a little coffin, and then they're all like, didn't he give them like little tissues or something? He
Yeah,
like put little
yeah.
like
Yeah, and the
tissues
whole
in-
time they're showing the dioramas, they're actually making it sound like the flies are like
Talking.
talking, crying,
Yeah.
like he's like imagining.
It's like what he's imagining.
like the
He's, like,
funeral. the
imagining
funeral
it
has
to be
like
happening.
funeral music.
There's
and-
also like a castle scene. There's like a war between like flies going on. These
Yeah.
dead flies that he glues to these like
But I think it's
he
I think
glues
it's-
them to these
I
little
think
like
it's funny.
diorama things, which are so funny. The diner with the little flies on the like the little old school diner stools.
so funny.
I think
what-
it's
so weird.
I think it's also like a bit strange, which I mean for that time you couldn't really get that much detail, but why are the flies smaller than the actual things that they're like for the diner
Well,
scene?
he just likes flies.
but
He
the
likes
diner
making things
the
with
diner
flies.
Just into
the
it.
chair is like 10 times bigger than the fly.
But what about the funeral one? He has like a fly as like
And like
Jesus
a-
on the cross.
Oh my gosh, I forgot. Oh my gosh, yeah, I
He has
forgot
a,
about
he's
that
a
one.
craftsman.
He's
a
so
craftsman.
crafty.
I mean, he's like the hobby is
We love a crafty guy.
the hobby is the hobby is out of the norm, right? But
What does
the
his dad
craft,
say
the
when he yells down?
craftsmanship-
So the next thing is after you see Gordy's hobby and what he does in the basement, what he does with all of his time.
And can we just say the whole time Gordy Belcher is really breathing heavily over these flies?
He loves them.
Like honestly, this might sound
He's
sound
like
rude,
licking
but,
his lips
I'm
and
still,
like
And he
Yeah,
touches the
no,
flies with
you know
his
who
hands.
he
Yeah.
looks like the chicken lady. He looks like the chicken lady.
It would be
He's
it
all
would be
like-
his grandma.
But
His grandma?
Yeah, exactly. But like, I'm surprised that he didn't blow one of the flies away because he was breathing really
he was
heavily.
breathing so heavily over these flies.
Now the
No,
next
I think
scene,
it's-
So the
His-
dad says what?
The
Dad
said
says something
something
really
like-
funny, like you can do whatever weird stuff you're doing down there later or something. Come up for dinner.
Yeah, he like it's just like the way he said it was so funny.
The dad like doesn't want to take any of his BS. The mom is a little bit more like,
But they know he's like
"Oh, you
weird as can be, and
know,
he's
it's
like,
it's his
Phase.
hobby,
Yeah.
it's his phase, it's a phase, yeah, that sort of thing. But the dad tears
Dad
into
hates
him the
it.
whole dinner.
Which
Yeah.
I think is well, I thought he was a stepdad because
and he
the way
pretends to wash his hands.
yeah,
my gosh,
Physically goes
Yeah,
over.
we're like, weren't you gonna? Sophie even said, "Isn't he gonna go wash his hands?" And the mom was like, "Go wash your hands." So he gets up and he does. He like pretends to
But,
wash.
like,
his
He
hands.
turns the
What
water
possesses-
on and
okay,
pretends to
listen,
wash them.
But listen, what possesses thee if you didn't want to get up there in the first place, and then you finally go up and do it, and then you don't do it, but
Yeah,
you
it
didn't want to
doesn't
get
make
up in the
sense.
first place. So like,
I think he's just into some gross behaviors.
Yeah. So that night, he has a nightmare. And then in the nightmare, the message was like a threatening, like, warning from the farmer. And the farmer's name is Farmer Spivey.
wait before you
To stay off of his land.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Mhm.
So he sees it's like almost on the, it's not on the, it's kind of on the TV, I think. It's like the commercial.
No, wait,
Not yet. He has 2 commercial dreams, I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
So after that is the next morning of school. And do you remember what happens in school that next morning?
This is the next morning.
Yeah, so he
I'm
goes
sorry,
over.
Like, with us talking about it is making it seem like so fast. So like when we're watching it, it's like more slower because there's like stuff that they're talking about. So like
I'm just,
I'm
well, you
trying to
gotta
make
like
it
summarize.
every-
I know, but
We're
like I'm trying. It's
summarizing
like
it.
at school he.
So he
realizes-
sits down.
Explanation.
He sits down,
no,
right?
his mom takes his stuff. No,
Not
no,
yet.
no, that's after. He
So he
he
sits
sits
down
down.
at the lunch table.
Yeah.
And everybody is like,
He's
we're
still
getting
breathing
up.
heavily.
We're leaving. we're leaving. Nobody wants to sit with him because they know he's mean.
2 people who stay.
Yeah,
They-
they know he's mischievous.
boy and a
they know
girl.
he's up to no good. And
Yeah.
he has like poor hygiene habits and
So
everything
he ends up
else,
saying
so-
something to guilt 2 people into
It's
sitting
like
down.
I know I was always like a jerk or something, but like
Nobody ever
he-
gives me the chance to be nice,
yeah.
to be cool
So
with
this
you.
cute
First
little girl,
asks-
she's like sitting across from him.
like
she's
first
like,
asks if he wants like a
she's
cookie
like,
that I made.
okay, yeah.
She was
like,
like,
I'll
okay,
sit with
I'll-
you. So then he offers to give her a cookie that he baked himself.
And she says no.
And she says no, and he's like, "Oh, come on, I made them myself." And she's like, "All right." And so he hands her a cookie,
Did you
and
eat it?
They
she,
look like chocolate chip.
yeah,
It's chocolate
and,
chip cookie.
she bites into it, and they they zoom into his face, like, and he's like
He's
really
laughing.
intently, like,
Yeah.
looking at her chewing on this cookie, and he's like licking his lips, and he's like loving it or whatever, and they like
She's
show
like
her. She doesn't scream. She like almost like is like she realizes
Like, why is he
something
laughing?
that
Yeah.
and then
she realizes something's not right
Yeah.
with the taste of the cookie.
And
And she
then
looks
she
down at the
looks down
cookie and
and
there's
screams and
flies,
leaves.
right?
she looks down and screams and leaves.
And they show the flies in the cookie, and so then he starts like laughing obnoxiously.
and then the
'cause he's a bully.
girl leaves, and then the kid that's sitting next to her.
You're
I'm
a real
like, I'm
jerk, Gordy Belcher.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm guessing it was like her friend or whatever. And then he picks it up and he's like, ew. It's like literally, ew. It's gross.
Yeah,
It's
grosser than gross.
So Gordy gets suspended from school, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Because of this. They
Yeah.
tell him to go home. He gets suspended. He put flies in
His mom-
cookies to give to a girl at
Does
school.
his mom know yet though?
So no, you're
She
too
pretends-
far ahead. So on his way home from school, he stops at the farmer's house again to steal.
To get his
More
little
stuff.
soy.
But before he could steal, the farmer is almost waiting for him. He invites
Yeah,
him in.
he like knows.
And the farmer's like, I want to call a truce with you.
You can take some of
um,
my.
Here's a gift.
Yeah.
And he's like, real weird. He's like, okay. So the farmer gives him a gift of a special batch of formula that he's made. And Gordy's like, okay. He's like, thanks,
It's in the
but
fridge.
what if I need more? And the farmer's like, oh, you won't need any more. This is plenty. And it's like just like a little jar of like manure or whatever, soil. So he gives it to Gordy, and you could almost tell there's like some kind of, the farmer like knows something's up.
Mhm.
So Gordy comes home now and is instantly greeted about the suspension from his mom.
Well, no. She asked. Doesn't she ask him like,
She knows.
why are you home? Yeah.
right.
She's like,
Mhm.
why are you home so early?
He makes
And-
something up.
And yeah, and he's like, we had a school assembly or whatever.
Yep.
And
She's like, no.
She's like, no.
The
and then she's
principal
like,
called.
the principal called. You don't think you weren't gonna tell me or whatever? And she's like, why did you do that to that poor innocent little girl or something?
Yeah. So she knows about the flies. She knows about the cookies.
So demented.
So the next thing Gordy finds out is all of his dioramas and all of his bug collecting stuff and fly collecting stuff in the basement is gone. It's all thrown away. There's not
Isn't the
one
mom-
thing down there.
But isn't the mom like, as he's walking in
She's
the
got
house,
bags of garbage.
She's got like
Yeah.
bags of garbage. So like you can already see like.
He's like, my craftsmanship.
Before we get into anything else, I wanted to point out, and I was talking about this before, that I guess I can say it after. You can finish.
So Gordy is like really mad. He's running all around this house trying to find all little like bug traps he had all over the place. He goes up into his bedroom and he looks out his window and there's like an old school like fly.
No, Gaga has
tape.
that one too.
Yeah,
So it's
nobody
like,
really uses those anymore, but
Gaga does.
so it's an old school fly tape, and he grabs the couple flies off of it, and he
He
puts
doesn't even,
them
like-
in.
He doesn't even like use.
He puts them
anything.
in the manure like soil that the farmer gave him. It's almost like a trap to catch flies. Like he puts the soil in and puts like a glass over top of it that has like a little hole at the top that they like fly into,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't get back out. So he puts them in there. And what else does he do after that? And
He goes down to the.
So he puts it in there.
I
And
think,
then I think-
his mom calls him down for dinner or something.
Yeah.
I don't think he does anything else.
Okay, so he puts them in the soil, and then that night he's sleeping,
Once
and he
the-
hears like this
Yeah.
big, like this rumbling or whatever going on in his room, and he wakes up, and what is he greeted by?
3 or 2 I think
like big flies.
Gigantic flies. They like became gigantic because of the soil. And that's what that farmer was trying to make. He was trying to make like a soil that made a vegetable grow so big. You know what I mean? That would feed like an entire town or something.
But I think before that, wasn't there another commercial?
There is, but I don't really.
But I mean, it has.
I'm summarizing.
It has the guy that Mommy was talking about.
It does.
Candace.
Yeah, but
Cameron's
You don't
brother.
have to. I always
Summarizing
wonder
some
too.
stuff,
Like,
you know?
okay, so it affects Gordy Belcher's flies, obviously. Well, what would happen if it was like, there were insects that came into like the farmer's farm? Is it going to be like a whole insect takeover?
But I think
monsters.
the farmer that didn't want to make this for everybody. I think he did like a
he even
special
said, like,
batch just to get
on
him
the-
back.
they-
Special.
Like it
They
made
even
it like
said,
real like
They even
special
made it real
batch.
bad.
Ew. They even said on the news that they were like, "What? How much are you selling this for?" And he was like, "I'm not selling this. This is for me." But
So he's woken by 3 giant flies sitting next to his bed. Okay, his parents can hear the commotion. They go up
like,
to his
screaming.
room. They go up to his room, and you see Gordy on the bed, and his arms are ripped off
Isn't it? Isn't his?
Oh, because he rips off
fly wings.
Yeah.
They ripped off his arms. It's not gruesome. It's just he's there, and it looks like his
And to be
t-shirt's
honest,
over.
Gordy
Right?
Belcher was the worst.
Okay. So the end
mean,
scene.
If it's gonna happen in a
The
movie.
end scene. It's daytime,
And you think it's a dream.
and you think it's a dream. He wakes up, and
because it's just his face.
he's on like a hammock outside.
yeah,
right?
he's like reading. He's reading.
And he goes to reach something, and he has a prosthetic arm
He's
on,
2 of them.
and he shows the other prosthetic arm. So it
Aren't
was
they
real.
like hooks?
Yeah, they're like
they're like hooks. They're
It's like a
not even,
hook before they had like
well,
the
that was
hands.
that was before. Yeah, they made it more.
Captain Hook.
They made them look more realistic, but it's pretty good.
So
it's
that
like
was the
karma,
end of the
right? It's like
the
karma. It's like what
Flyboy.
goes
Yeah,
around comes around type
Okay.
thing.
I think this whole movie was really about like those 2 stories are kind
Yeah,
of
I
karma.
mean they're trying to teach you some life lessons, like
So they end
symbolically.
with the camp out again.
Wait,
and
I wanna say
back in the
something.
tent. The 3 cousins are still talking about that ending story.
Okay, so I have a theory, and this is not true, but it's just gonna happen. So we're going back to the first story about the chicken lady, and she was licking her lips. She was so excited for chicken because it was her favorite meal. So nice, kind of chubby. She's really really hungry. And then you go back to the Flyboy story, and Gordy's the same way. So chubby. He's licking his lip, and then when he comes home, the mom says, I made your favorite fried chicken."
Oh.
I'm so good. I pay attention to detail.
At least it wasn't a rat, though.
I know. At least it wasn't a rat. No,
Okay,
it was
so-
a fly. It was a
Oh,
deep
so
fried.
good.
Back at the tent. This is the end of the movie, okay? So the boys are like, they wrapped up that story, okay? The kids hear a noise. And here comes Sean Astin, the kid that plays Michael, his dad. He unzips the tent and opens up the zipper, right? And peeks his head in.
I like that you like.
Peeks his head in. And you find out that his dad is none other than Mr. Jenkins,
And
the janitor.
And then
Because he does
yeah.
say, my dad told me that story.
My
'cause he
dad
worked
told
at
me that
this- at
story.
school,
And Sean
right?
Astin's like, I'm just gonna keep calling him Sean Astin. His name's Michael, but he's like,
He'll always be Sean Astin to me.
I know. It's like
Yeah.
Bob Newby who?
Well, the other kid asks him about the story. Was that story true?
Yeah,
And he's like, that story wasn't
and
true.
Sean Astin's like, Dad, why don't you show them? And Mr. Jenkins, his dad, takes off his mask, and then
He
they
You
takes
see
off
the
the
monster.
Mr.
and then you
Jenkins
can
meat
hear,
suit.
you can don't they show the kids' faces or
Yeah,
like
kind of like they just
They show Sean
insinuate
Astin,
that
like,
they were like
smiling.
scared.
But that's the thing. If they're all cousins, isn't that their uncle?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Or
And-
maybe his mom could be their aunt, and
Maybe.
they don't know
Sean, but
Maybe.
that.
Sean Astin's like smiling, so like
Yeah.
it makes you, and then they end it,
And they
and
end
then it
it.
makes you believe, did they makes you think about it? Is Sean Astin one of them? Did they die? Like what happened?
I don't think they
I don't
died
think they
because
died,
they're
but,
not
like,
bullies.
bullying.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like,
He probably just wanted to
Scared the
scare them
crap out of
because
them.
they're like camping out.
Yeah.
But
But it's such a cool. It's such a
I just
cool
think
like.
it's so funny. Like Sean
come
Astin's
around.
like smile in there.
Yeah,
He's
so-
like, I'm gonna prove them wrong.
So out of 5,
You need to have
That's the movie.
that is the movie. So out of 5, what would you rate the movie?
I'd-
1 being the worst, 5 being obviously
I'd say the 5.
the best.
No.
The
I
five.
would
No,
say
I
probably
would say
like
3.
4 because it's funny
A
and it
3?
has Sean Astin in it.
Okay, Dean, what do you rate it?
3.
A 3. Ash?
Or a 3 or
I
a 5.
mean, a
5 would be the best.
No,
would
a 5.
say-
5.
A 5.
5.
I mean,
I mean, if you would have
It's
asked me
really
at
funny.
8 years old, 9 years old, I would have rated it a 5 too.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I mean, for kid. I mean,
It's funny for kids.
I'm a 34-year-old mom,
Boob
so
swamp.
it's like
Boob
Yeah.
swamp, Mom.
I've seen it.
Boob sweat. You said boob.
Boob sweat, yeah. I've seen it before.
so what would you
know.
rate it? Like
It's
out of
gross.
5?
I would say like
I'd say a 4.
I'd say a low 3.
Yeah, like being in the mindset to watch a movie like this.
I would
Not
say
like,
a
is it the
negative
best movie of all
5.
time?
Yeah, you watch
No.
it to watch it
But
once, and then it's like
it
'cause
has
it's
a lot-
campy and it's like funny.
So what would you rate it out of 5?
No, I'm thinking about probably
Soph
3.
gave it a 6.
A 3?
She's
No,
over.
probably a 3 because I wouldn't watch it. Like, there's some movies that I'd watch after
Maybe
I
a
just watched
5.
it.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
be like, let's watch the Willies.
I'd be like-
you have done that though. Let's watch the Willies.
So
Like,
this
you
is a
love
movie
it.
that I've
Like-
literally
like,
rented
we
a million
watched-
times and watched as a kid
Yeah.
with my cousin when I was
Like,
little.
I
like,
just watched Holes one day, and then I watched it the next day, and I watched it the
I
night
will
out. Like,
say, I would think that maybe
I don't think I'd do it for
I would
this
think
movie.
like fathers and sons would probably appreciate it a little bit more than mothers and daughters, right?
For
because
sure.
It's got like the gross.
For sure. It's
like-
got
And
the
it's all
gross factor
boys.
in
If you
it,
think
you
about
know.
it, it's all boys.
yeah, the majority.
There's-
Yeah, it's like a boys' camp out and all that.
I think the only girl in, not like, because there's a bunch of like ladies and girls and stuff, but I think the only two lady stories are like the poodle one
Yeah.
and the chicken one.
Now, how old
So,
would you say?
I would
should be
probably.
appropriate?
So I would rate it a high 3. I would say
Yeah,
Um,
high 3.
age appropriate.
age appropriate.
I'd probably say like like 7.
Maybe-
Well,
I
Dean's 7.
Well, or like 6
um,
at the lowest because
I don't think 6. I would say like 8.
I would
yeah,
say, like,
I'm not
9.
thinking about that. I'm not thinking about.
I would
the
say
blood.
8 or 9, and that's only because Dean can
Dean-
deal with a lot of
Dean was watching horror movies
horror
when he was
and
1.
like the scarier shows and things like that. He's not afraid of stuff like that, but it might scare a kid.
It might
like,
scare
seeing
some
a-
other kids,
seeing
but
a poodle in a
it
microwave.
has a
and
lot of. It has a
Mr.
good
Jenkins.
like replay
Yeah, I
value
think-
to it. I mean, it's a fun movie to watch. It's
There's
up
a
to
lot
you
of-
to what you decide your kids are allowed to watch or not. I mean,
I think
hence the name Screen
yeah.
Time for our podcast. We would let our kids watch this without us. There isn't any nudity. There isn't really any bad language. There's a couple little like
I
monster jump scare
think
things, but like
you have
it's the
to-
80s and
yeah.
it's you gotta appreciate the time, you
I
know?
think you kind of have to be old enough to understand what they're saying. Too.
Yeah, and like the poodle thing, it's just kind of like a joke. It's not really like
well, and
meant
you can
to be
clearly tell.
right. You can
it's-
tell
It's
it's
hot
fake.
dogs and noodles.
Yeah.
Where can you find it? Can you find it anywhere for free
I was
if
ready,
you don't
I was
own it?
prepared. Okay, so you can find it on Tubi, or Redbox, which I recommend Tubi because it's better.
Tubi is free, but I think there are ads if it's free.
Yeah, but everybody gets Tubi for free unless you own the physical copy, which I'm sure you can buy. They have DVD, they have
Yeah.
a Blu-ray, they have VHS
Or
tapes.
just come borrow ours. My husband has 3
Um,
copies of it.
I have the 2 copies of the VHS and I have a DVD copy.
The DVD,
I will say the yellow VHS copy has
My
really
favorite.
cool art.
it's like almost like a comic book.
It was like a promo when they gave it to the video store. That cover was actually inside of the other cover.
Yeah.
And it just come with 1 tape though.
Then
It
is
didn't come
this
with 2 tapes.
Then and what is this? Did
I
you-
put a fake tape in there just to
Oh.
so the box didn't smash.
So just out of curiosity, did you laugh, cry, puke, or die?
Or did you have the urge to regurge? I had the urge to regurge.
Yeah, I definitely regret it.
I think the
Yeah.
comic one is my favorite because it's a comic and has really cool art. But the other VHS tape one is it's a random picture of like people. So
Yeah, this is the one. The purple one is the one that I rented. But if anybody has a VHS copy of this movie, The Willie's laying around, check inside because there could be the other copy case inside of it, and it would be a super cool find.
the DVD is so cheap.
So yeah, we don't know what we're gonna review next. Not sure
Even
yet.
the Monster Squad.
Maybe the Monster Squad. We're kind of going with like kids friendly horror movies, like a good introduction to get your kids into watching movies.
Spookies.
Spooky stuff. If you were to step out of the room, you weren't, they weren't going to see something that wouldn't be, appropriate, not appropriate for them to see. So we're trying to review stuff that we let our kids watch, that we have fun watching, that we watched as kids ourselves.
I'd say if you tuned in this long, we appreciate you.
We appreciate it.
Or if you just cut halfway.
And I hope we sound...
Don't come back again, no.
Hope our voices don't sound annoying.
They're going to sound annoying watching this back.
All right, so...
I'm going to have the urge to regurge watching this back. Listening to this back.
Say peace.
Peace.
I think that was it. Peace.
Peace.